We are here today with my man, Jack Acid. How we doing, brother? How we
Fucking
feeling?
great, man.
How's life?
Life is cruel and unusual.
Cruel and unusual? Well, cruel and unusual life. Jack Acid is here today on Indie Interviews. What's going on, man? How's the day been?
The day's been a pretty decent day, actually.
It's been good.
Yeah.
Anything exciting or out of the blue happened today?
Today, no, just had a good breakfast.
A good breakfast.
Had some good sex.
There you go. That's a great way to start out the day.
And I'm
Good
here
sex,
with you
good
guys.
breakfast.
Yeah.
That's what's up, brother. That's what's up. So tell me, Jack, what's the most interesting thing about you?
Oh my god, man. That question throws me off. I don't know from my perception, because I feel like a lot of people would have different answers for that just because of perception.
Sure.
You said unique.
Interesting, unique.
Interesting. I don't know. I think maybe just my mannerisms.
Mannerism. Go on. Explain.
Like, I feel like sometimes I can't fake how I'm feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and my face and my body language tells that easily.
Sure.
So sometimes that can be intense for people.
Yeah. So, like, how authentic or honest you are?
Yeah,
Overall,
it's
as a
hard
person.
for me. It's hard for my body not to relay like exactly what I'm feeling.
Sure. Interesting. Has it always been that way for you? Have you always been a very honest and open person, or is that something that's grown to become part of you?
Yeah. I think it grew like it. The older I get, the more that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
I think just from my dad, like he's the same way.
Sure.
I think it actually, like Asperger's like runs in the family. So I don't know if I have that, but maybe that's why sometimes I'm perceived as like a dick, because I'll say something or my body language will relay something that can be harsh to others.
Sure.
But it's really just me being genuine with you.
Sure.
So.
I don't think there's enough of that in today's society. In fact, I think we see a lot of fake authenticity in today's world.
Yeah.
And I think that's super dangerous.
Yeah.
But I feel like you as a person, as well as an artist, really bring a very genuine sound. Granted, your music is extremely different from what most people would probably find themselves listening to. So talk to me a little bit about how you came to find yourself in this real hardcore scene with this real grungy, metallic, Sick Puppies type sound.
I think I just grew up like listening to punk rock.
Sure.
Like old school punk rock. And that's like the essence of that. Like what Jack Acid's sound is derived from that whole scene.
Sure.
Which is like the Germs, Bad Brains,
Right.
Black Flag, even thrash bands and stuff.
Yeah.
I think just that, man. I felt like there's such a huge common essence between the two.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same message.
Right.
It's like big fuck you. Super angry. The energy is intense.
Mm-hmm.
Typically the production isn't mainstream, like it's bad production.
Sure.
It's all done at home. It's all DIY. There's not many labels attached to this scene. So I think that's like is why I'm doing what I'm doing now with Jack Acid.
Because you feel like it tailors to how independent you are as a person, as an artist as well.
Yeah, it tailors to like everything about me. I love every aspect of it.
Absolutely.
Punk rock and the underground rap scene. It's
Sure.
like the same shit to me.
Absolutely. What drew you to that scene growing up? I mean, I know we talked off camera, you were from Hawaii, so when you think of Hawaii, you're not necessarily thinking of punk rock per se.
Yeah.
So how did little Jack come to find himself involved in the punk rock scene or drawn to that sound?
Honestly, man, Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk, really?
Yeah, I heard the Germs.
Were you a big skater back in the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
I surfed and I skated. I'm not really into it anymore. But growing up, Tony Hawk had a lot of good songs on there that I would look up. I mean, but when I like again, I listened to DMX around those times, stuff like that. It had the same. It made me feel the same thing, like Eminem.
Sure.
Same essence to me. So, but really, what got me into it was my dad showing me and taking me to the actual shows.
Sure.
It wasn't until I started seeing those people live was when I was like, oh shit, like now I really get it, because the energy in the room is different than on a recording. So.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of energy, and I think that when we get a chance to watch you perform live, there's that same experience because you bring so much energy to the stage, man. It's nuts. Never seen anything like it. If you haven't seen Jack Acid perform live, go onto YouTube right now and look up a live performance of this man right here because you will be blown away. That's a fact.
Thank you.
That's a fact. Where does that energy come from, man? Does that energy come from life experiences? Does that energy just come from all the people that are in the room with you? Where does that come from?
It comes from life experiences. There's a reason why I feel the way I feel. And when I perform, it's a really, like, in my opinion, healthy way of letting that out instead of it coming out, say, on a city bus on some asshole.
Sure.
So there's like, yeah, everything causes that, life experiences to also just having my friends in the room too.
Sure.
Their energy, we all gain off of each other's energy. So
absolutely. And you talk about letting out life experiences. What is it exactly that you're letting out? Is it an emotion? Is it a thought? What is it that you're letting out?
It's all emotion.
It's all emotion.
It's just all like to the lyrics, to
sure.
the actual stage presence.
Sure.
It's just
absolutely
a time to let that out. So.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like a lot of people would say that you're letting out an angry emotion. Is that true, or is it actually something totally different that we're overlooking?
Mostly, but it's a mix. It's definitely a mixed emotion though, because it's almost like a tantrum. It's like a little toddler's tantrum. They're angry and they're sad.
Sure.
At the same time. And so they're, you've seen a toddler like have a tantrum. It's just like a huge blast of emotion all at once. That's basically what it is.
Absolutely. Where does that stem from? What experiences kind of what experience? Talk to me about the experiences that you've had that have allowed you to express yourself in such a profound way.
I would just say general abandonment and rejection and just feeling of like no purpose, feelings of mostly just abandonment, rejection, and isolation.
Yeah, I think those are super real issues, and I think that there's a lot of artists out there who are going through experiences like that, where they feel abandoned, where they feel left out, where they feel judged, or every single thing you said. I think there are many artists out there who are experiencing that on a day-to-day basis, and I feel like you're somebody who they can look to for advice and for help in overcoming that. What advice do you have to give to those artists? How did you overcome those feelings, or have you overcome them?
Honestly, I'm currently like, I mean, if we can be frank, like right now is probably like my life is in the most shambles it's ever been.
Really?
So I'm currently still figuring that out. I'm currently dealing with coping mechanisms. I'm trying not to drink or do drugs to cope with things I haven't dealt with.
Sure.
From things that have happened in the past. I have kids hitting me up, mostly from other countries, but I do have kids hitting me up, coming to me for advice about suicide and, wanting to, just basically feeling the same way I feel.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me because I want to tell them the right thing, but I'm still learning myself.
Right.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I have music for that. So what I would say to anyone feeling like that is just find something that really makes you feel fulfilled and whole, and just run with it and fuck every single thing else.
Most definitely.
Objects, humans, locations, everything. Cut the fat and just dive into whatever that is. It could be painting or skating or stripping
Your
or
craft.
literally anything.
Mm-hmm.
Painting, toy, cars or something. It really
Yeah.
has no, doesn't matter what it is. It's just as long as it gives you that feeling of release. Fuck everything else and just dive into that.
I like that.
Until you're dead, basically.
I think that's great advice. I think that's great advice, and for you, that's music. Then
Yeah.
that's how you're keeping your head up through this tough time you're going through right now.
Yeah.
Why is it music?
I don't know. I think it's like it. One half of it is it allows me to let out things with words, but also to let out things with melodies.
Mm-hmm.
That performing that
Sure.
and projecting that and yelling and all that combined feels good, but then also it fulfills me like on a more spiritual level, because it's like when I used to jam with my band, like my psychedelic band, that's why I really like psychedelic rock, is because it's so jammy. There's not a lot of vocals. It's just the room.
It's just the sounds.
It's the room, the sounds are trapped in that room, and all the band members are vibing off of each
Right.
other, and it's super
the-
on spot, like jazz.
Yeah.
Like it's
It's
just
the
on,
energy in the room.
yeah.
It's
and
the energy going through your body.
yeah, and then who knows what that might be, but it just feels good coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I really like about it.
Yeah. No, that's super special. And when did you discover that music was kind of your outlet? Was there a point in time when you were younger where you were going through another really difficult time, and you said, and somehow music just kind of was there, and you picked it up and said, "Oh, this makes me feel good. I'm gonna run with this."
Yeah,
How did
that
you
was probably.
find music?
Well, I've been like writing songs since I was like 11, since I was able to play guitar.
Wow.
But they were terrible, and it was like,
You gotta start somewhere.
yeah, but it felt good to do so.
Right.
So then you start doing it more and more throughout the years, and then by the time I was 13, I was able to write something to where I thought perceived my emotions somewhat closely to how they actually are, because it's hard to put the shit on paper and in song, and
Sure.
for it to make you feel something. So I think around like 13, 14, but I didn't take it seriously until I was about 15, and I got arrested, and I think that's when I realized, like, okay, you kind of have something going for you here, so just work on it and just dive into it, because I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do with my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose music to, so
Yeah.
here I am.
At 15, though.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I was in a lot of legal trouble, so 15 to basically 18, it was just me working like 40 hours a week, going to drop piss tests, doing all the classes, doing all the the Narcotics Anonymous stuff, and you know how it goes. It's fucking takes up all your money and time, so I couldn't put together a band, and also I didn't know any other kids that were dedicated like me. I was in bands and stuff, but I mean, it was like kids from the neighborhood, and I fucking wrote everything and did everything, made everyone good, come to practice.
Yeah, you were the one that was truly committed. Everybody else was like, "Oh, let me play on a Saturday for mom and dad."
Yeah, and like it was just like a hobby type thing. But at an early age, I really wanted to, I was ready to play fucking stadiums. I was ready. Like I wanted to do that. I was craving that.
Like you closed your eyes at 15, you were here at 11 writing music, and then by 15 you had your eyes closed and were ready to freaking be on the big stage in front of the world.
Well, I mean, even before that too. Like as soon as I picked up the guitar, I was like, I started a band. And I was like 4th grade.
Sure. What drew you to that? What drew you to being on stage in front of the world? What drew you to that vision?
Oh, I mean, I just wanted to play a show because I thought that's what people did for music.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized it's actually really taxing on you, and it's like you just learn. That's what you need to do to put your music out there and get your name out there.
Mm-hmm.
In rap, it's not really like that. A lot of people, some of these rappers haven't even played shows yet, but they have like millions online.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the question was. I think I trailed off.
No, I think it's a little interesting area that we just explored for sure. Talk to me a little bit about just growing up in general and when music played a really big role and when you weren't maybe doing music. I mean, we talked off camera and you'd mentioned you were from Hawaii and then you moved to, I think you said Arizona and then back to Hawaii. Talk to me just a little bit about growing up and what some of the challenges were you faced and how maybe music was a way out of those challenges.
Well, my grandfather was a producer.
Really?
So this is not my blood grandfather, but the grandfather that raised me.
Sure.
He produced some stuff for Hole.
Okay.
Just Courtney Love. He did some stuff with Slayer, and then honestly,
Oh, wow.
it was all reggae.
Okay.
So
that's an interesting mix, reggae and then Slayer.
Well, he did all that shit with the metal. He did all the thrash and metal in LA when he had a studio. Then he moved to Hawaii and opened up his own thing and started doing all the big reggae bands there.
Okay.
But Courtney Love did go to that studio in Maui to do vocals for, I think it was like Live Through This or something, which ended up getting really big. So just, I guess like I didn't really know my dad well growing up. I knew he played music and I had seen pictures of him on stage and I thought that was really cool at the time.
Yeah.
Also I was always in the studio with my grandpa watching him mix for hours and I loved the studio. I loved all the instruments and the booths.
So it's always been there, even before 11 years old. Music was there for you.
Yeah, like since I could remember, I wanted to play music. Like I had like a little fake drum set, like all that shit when you're a kid. So I think just that, the studio, my grandpa's studio really inspired me like at the earliest of ages.
Sure, most definitely. Most definitely. And when did you start kind of discovering your sound and defining your sound?
Well, I have tons. I mean, it just depends on the project. So I look at projects like movies, because you can brand a movie. A movie has a color scheme. It has an aesthetic. A good movie does anyways.
Right.
It has a soundtrack. It has a whole vibe. It's like a product on the shelf. It's all fluid.
Right. If you see a Marvel movie, you know it's a Marvel movie.
Yeah, or Quentin Tarantino.
Sure.
You know, right off the bat, that's a Quentin Tarantino movie. Absolutely. Just because of the colors in the the film and all that stuff. So I mean, I still don't know my sound because I might.
Still experimenting.
Yeah. Oh, always, man. I mean, I have an album coming out soon that, like, no one's would ever expect. But I'm just experimenting with different sounds and stuff. So I've been in a bunch of different types of bands that have different sounds. I just like a lot of different types of music, so I try to apply that to everything I do.
Most definitely. What's your sound right now? What are we doing right now?
On that psychedelic doom trap.
Okay.
That's something
Talk to me about that, because that's very unique.
Well, I think the psychedelic part comes from, I was in a band called I still am, but it's on ice. It's called Stink Eye, and it was like some 60s psychedelic stuff mixed with some newer and mid 90s doom bands.
Okay.
And doom is like, it derives from blues and metal.
Okay.
But it's like really sludgy and slow and just basically sounds like how the word sounds. So was calling the band Psychedelic Doom Fuzz or Doom Rock. And then I thought I really wanted to take the psychedelic visuals to the rap, but I wanted it to be really dark and trappy. Like just the beats, just like heavy. That's kind of my thought process on that genre.
Absolutely. No, it's a super unique sound that you have, and I'll be honest, I don't know if it's the most listenable sound for everybody, but it's definitely something that I think everybody has to experience at least once, just because it's so unique as a sound. Talk to me a little bit about your most recent project. I think that's my favorite that I've heard from you so far.
Hot, Thirsty, and Pissed?
Yep, Hot, Thirsty, and Pissed. What I like about it is you keep some of that, you keep that heavy, hardcore sound, that psychedelic doom sound from your previous album. You bring it to this one, but we get to hear Jack a little bit more. We get to hear your vocals a little bit more, which I think is...
Like on the production side of things?
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it because it's minimalistic on the production. I think that's where maybe went wrong on the last thing. That's where the psychedelic comes in. I really wanted a lot of delay on my vocals. I really wanted a lot of reverb and like chorus and phaser and all these trippy sounds on my vocals, and
make it more of just sound in general.
Yeah. But I felt like it muddied up some of the vocals.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that.
So on this one, it was just, I wanted it to basically be like one of my favorite punk rock albums, which is just raw, dirty recordings.
Right.
Super loud, kicked up on the bass, and just minimalistic basically.
Yeah.
And I like it. I personally like the way it sounds like that. So I think I'm going to continue that.
That'll be interesting to see, and I'm excited to see where you go with this next project.
Oh yeah, the new one. That'll be cool.
Let's talk a little bit about live performance. Talk to me about, when was the first time you performed live?
Oh, the first time I performed live, I was 11 years old. I filled in drums for this blues band in Hawaii called the Booze Brothers. Like the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. A little play on words there.
Yeah. It was just basically a bunch of old drunk dudes playing blues covers for the bar scene in Hawaii. Like, there's no music scene in Hawaii, basically. Unless it's EDM or something. But, it was at my mom's bar she worked at. It's called Hecox in Lahaina, Hawaii. Yeah, I played a set with them, and then I did a like a Ginger Baker type solo. Ginger Baker is the drummer for Cream.
Okay.
And I was like so nervous.
Yeah.
It was like 5 p.m.
Right.
at like a semi-busy bar, but it was a small bar. But I was 11.
Yeah, right.
That was the first time I played.
So that was the first time you performed live then?
Yeah.
What was like and I don't know, maybe that was a super significant time for you, but when was like the first time you kind of had your first headlining show, or you were kind of the main attraction? What was that experience like when you were kind of the one everyone was coming to see?
The main one. Well, I think I'm trying to think, because I've played so many shows. I used to play like 2 shows a week for like 6 years.
Sure.
So I'm trying to think. I think maybe with one of my first real bands. Oh, it wasn't a headlining thing. It was I played drums for a thrash band in freshman year of high school called LSD.
Okay.
Living Semen Demons, and that was at Pub Rock. No, Big Fish Pub.
Gotcha.
Terrible, like, yeah, they like scammed me $30 and like, but we had a bunch of friends come to that.
Sure.
I think the first headlining thing though we did was like at the Marquee with my band Stink Eye.
Okay. Very nice. What was that experience like?
I was nervous. I was so nervous because I had never...
Are you still nervous when you get on stage?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it makes me want to puke.
Really?
Yeah, I try not to smoke too much before, because then I can't even open my fucking mouth. But I'll try to take CBD before shows. Mm-hmm. I used to just get loaded, but that's a guaranteed throw up on stage.
Sure.
Which is just not good for my body.
Have you done that? Have you thrown up on stage before?
Like, I used to only throw up on stage. Like, maybe 4 to 6, probably like 5 Jack Acid shows I've thrown up on stage.
Really?
Just from being fucking drunk and like on drugs and just trying to not be so fucking nervous. I used to throw up when I was a kid. I used to throw up just out of just pure not being nervous. Like, I'm just anxious.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself a nervous person?
Yeah, in certain situations. Jack is not a nervous person, but Andrew is.
Sure.
So, like right now you're talking to Andrew.
Right.
But if Jack was in here, he'd be smelling like liquor and saying some god awful shit. So.
So Jack's kind of the cover for the nervousness. It's kind of.
Yeah, it's definitely a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have like split personality disorder, so that's something that I struggle with. But it's actually, I think it's healthy.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy that Jack is in a box until it's time for him to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Or else, like I said, Jack will come out on a city bus and flip out on someone and get me locked
Right.
up or something, you know. So
Right.
now I can just channel Jack when I'm in the studio and when I'm performing.
Yeah, and I think that it's special when you get to see Jack on stage, because we go from sitting here like this, and then it's like, again, go watch him perform live. You will be blown away.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that then, split personality, how you've dealt with that. Is that something you feel like you've always kind of struggled with?
Yeah, I have, but I've never faced it
Mm-hmm.
up until I started doing Jack Acid.
Okay.
I didn't realize it was such a problem until I started going to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in therapy my whole life, but this is the first time that I put myself into it because I thought I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did that, it made me realize a lot of things about myself that I had been pushing away all these years just to feel normal. I also grew up not like, my dad was always the type, like he grew up in like a really traditional family in Texas.
Sure.
So there's a lot of like different dynamics when you come from a background like that. So he was taught to like suppress. And I'm not saying my dad tried to suppress my feelings, because he always was open to hearing me out.
Sure.
But I think when it came to stuff like that, he would maybe downplay it when, you know, I really like probably could have used some medication, to be honest. But me and him are so similar to where like I'm still struggling with that. I don't want to get on medications because you know, I don't
You want to find a way just to control it.
Basically that, and it's like an ego thing.
Right.
I don't feel like I shouldn't have to take medication,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end
You don't
of the
want
day,
to be an excuse.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So that was his thing. Was like, it was something that I just didn't face up until recently,
Mm-hmm.
and then now I finally kind of found a way to cope with that, and to deal with that regularly.
Right. What was it that made you decide you wanted to face it? Because I think that some people go their whole lives without ever facing things that are really true to who they are, or things that they even struggle with.
I think I was just like struggling with like real life. Just, I was doing really good when I was with a girl for a while, and I had a really like, not cushy life, but like I set stability for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working towards things, doing my music, had a great girlfriend that I thought was great at the time. And basically when I ruined all of that was when I was like, okay, kind of have to work on some things, and that was one of them. So finding a balance, and then I created Jack Acid. And I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, but now I'm realizing that's why I did Jack Acid. That's why I put out the music that I did, because it was like subconsciously that's what I needed to do.
It was your way of coping with it. It was your way of overcoming that challenge. And when you were in that part of your life, did you constantly feel like there was something maybe that wasn't quite right, like you were not addressing certain issues and you were just kind of trying to mask everything behind, quote, looking good?
Yeah. I was in the band, and it just wasn't like a very angry band. It was definitely heavy music, but it wasn't anything like Jack Acid. There wasn't many pits.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I was unfulfilled. Like, yeah, I was like fed up. Like there's a lot of things that I wasn't fulfilled in my soul.
Right.
My girl just left me, and I was living in a shithole. Some people in the band, it just weren't on my level. It was just difficult trying to get everyone to practice. Then we went on a 3-week tour, train wreck tour. Came back to my house robbed, like emptied out. Just was like, fuck. Like I'm just so frustrated. You know, fuck everything. Fuck all my friends.
Okay.
Fuck everyone. I'm just gonna do something solo that fulfills my shit I need to get out, which is anger. So
Release.
yeah, like it relieves me after a Jack Acid show. It's like I look forward to that because I get it all out of my head and out of my pores.
Sure.
Physically, you know, the toxins come out in my
Right.
sweat and stuff. So sometimes I'll cry on stage while I'm performing the songs. You can't tell because I'm screaming, but it really is like a huge fucking release. Like it's important. Like it's therapeutic for sure.
It's your therapy. You found what you needed to do.
Yeah, and for some reason, people, I didn't start Jack Acid to get big like at all. Like it wasn't like that. That's not something I was like worried about, and I didn't really think anyone was gonna like it, to be honest.
It is like we talked about earlier. It's definitely a niche thing, but at the same time, people want people want to see it because it's so damn unique.
Yeah, and some people that don't even like the music, that style of music, they'll just come to the shows because the shows are fun and the energy is intense. And I feel like everyone, no matter what music they listen to, everyone has those demons in them.
Yeah.
Maybe some more than others.
That's facts.
So
that's facts.
I think everyone can appreciate it to a certain extent.
Absolutely. I think that you couldn't have said any better. Everybody has a demon inside them.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not they're willing to face it.
Yeah.
And you're facing yours.
Yeah. Like I'm actually working with him. Like I'm actually like exercising with my demons.
Right. I think that's profound. I think it's also super special because I think a lot of people run from that.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't have that's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't have something like that though. Like they feel this way, but they don't have anything to put it into. Right. I feel really bad. That's why people are going to fucking college for shit they don't even care about.
Sure.
It's because they just were looking for a purpose, and it's like really sad to see because I felt that way at a certain point. So.
Yeah. How do you approach the things you're afraid of?
I just have to do it face on. You know, I have a needle phobia. I can't deal with gore or anything like that. A lot of people have this like perception of me like I'm just like this gnarly ass dude. Like I'm actually like a really scared little boy, like deep down, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to have a shot, which I was just in the hospital, just gotta do it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Shut up and do it. You know?
Is that some of the stories behind the tattoos? Just facing that fear of the needle, or?
Oh, see, it's weird because tattoos are. I don't feel weird about tattoos. It's something entering my vein.
Mm-hmm.
That thought.
Yeah.
Or.
No, I feel what you're saying because I had a point in time where I was getting surgery and I was getting one IV after the other, and it never got easier. Just wanted to puke after so many of them.
Well, and I don't think it's really that too. I think it's an imbalance in my head because I never used to be like this. But if you were to show me like a wound or if you had your hand that was broken and you showed it to me, I'll pass out in my seat right now on the spot. I think maybe it has something to do with empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can almost put myself in that situation in the moment and like feel nauseous from it and like just pass out in my chair, which I've done.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So empathy is a big part of who Jack and Andrew is.
Yeah.
Well, have you always considered yourself an extremely empathetic person, or is that something that kind of has evolved?
Jack is not. Jack doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
Jack's
up here doing only Jack.
Yeah. Anything else besides music, fuck off. But Andrew's like a little bit more logical, a little bit less black and white.
Sure.
I try to look at things in different light, and try to just be mature and polite, and pick the best, least destructive route. Jack will just plow through it just to get through it.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So I think I need.
So Andrew's the empathetic one.
Yeah.
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 And was Andrew always sympathetic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always had that as a kid. Like my mom was always like, I'm a Gemini too.
Sure.
So it's like.
Which makes sense.
Jack yeah. So it's just like it's undeniable that's always been a theme of my whole life. Was like I could snap out of it in a second. Like my mom would be like, "Where's Andrew?" Like when I'm being a little dick as a toddler, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, "Where's Andrew?" And I'd be like, "Oh, here I am," like on some psycho shit, you know. So it's definitely, but like I said, it's healthy that I can separate the two and channel them differently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Andrew's definitely like a sweet guy, but
Everybody's got their demon.
I am one person, so there's both of that in me.
Yeah. I think we're coming close to the end of our time here, but I want to give you the chance to address your audience and ask them a question. So if you had the opportunity to ask your audience any question, what question would you ask them?
Shit, I guess I would just ask what you guys like to see from me, whether it's live performances or music. Why are you watching this interview? Why do you come to my shows? What do you like about Jack Acid?